From wiggling tails to drooping ears, these small details bring Bluey to life in ways you might not have noticed. Today, we're uncovering some of the coolest hidden gems in the show that might just surprise you. The first hint we saw was in the episode Army. In this episode, Jack is the new kid at school and the latest recruit in Rusty's army. At first, he struggles to follow instructions, but there's one small detail that makes his training even more interesting. When Jack first salutes, he uses his left hand. That's not how it's done in the army. Soldiers always salute with their right hand. But after going through Rusty's training, Jack's salute changes. By the end of the episode, he's saluting with his right hand like a proper soldier. Was this a simple mistake, or did it show Jack learning and improving? Now, let's move on to the next episode, Puppet. While playing with Bluey and Bingo, Bandit brings a little unicorn puppet to life. As he moves it around with his hand, he suddenly calls the kids Salad Dodgers. It might sound like a random nickname. Salad Dodgers is actually the name of the game Bandit played in the very first pilot episode of Bluey. It's a small reference, but one that connects the early days of the show to this moment. The next secrets appeared in the episodes Stumpfest and Tradies. During Stumpfest, Bandit, Stripe, and Pat put all their strength into pulling a stubborn tree stump from the ground. After a lot of effort, they finally yank it out, leaving a big hole behind. At first, it just seems like part of the fun, but this hole actually shows up again later. In the episode Tradies, Chippy and Sparky dig out a pond, and it turns out they're working in the exact same spot. Instead of starting from scratch, they just expand the hole that was already there. Now, let's talk about the episode, Early Baby. In some scenes of this episode, Bluey's little nurse hat has a red cross on it, but in others, the cross is purple. It's not a design choice. It's actually because of content regulations in certain regions. Some places don't allow the use of the red cross in the media unless it's for official medical purposes. So, instead of changing the whole scene, they just tweaked the color. A tiny adjustment, but one that most people would never even notice. If you didn't know this, we definitely deserve a hit at the like button. Now, let's move on to the episode. Perfect. The fridge in the healer house is always covered in little details. But in this episode, if you look closely, you'll see drawings made by Bluey and Bingo, each one referencing a different episode. In the top right corner, there's a sketch of Mia, likely drawn by Bluey as a nod to the episode Barky Boats. Nearby, there's a grumpy-looking muffin, which feels pretty fitting, a drawing of the wagon from the episode Wagon Ride, and even the messy duck cake from Duck Cake. Further down, there's a sweet drawing of Rad and Frisky holding hands with little hearts above them, just like in the episode Double Babysitter. And, of course, Unicorse makes an appearance too. It's like the fridge is holding on to every memory. Maybe one day, we'll see even more little callbacks hidden in plain sight. Moving on, did you notice the sad ears? In Bluey, we've seen how the characters wag their tails when they're excited. But here's another cool detail we noticed. When they're feeling down, their ears drop, just like real-life dogs. In multiple scenes, when a character is sad or disappointed, their ears naturally lower. It's a subtle but awesome way to show emotion, giving the characters a real dog-like quality. Now, here's a more surprising secret and reference to old cartoons. Bandit might be one of the most iconic cartoon dads now, but his name actually comes from an old-school classic, Johnny Quest, an adventure series that aired in the 60s, 80s, and 90s, featured a loyal bulldog named Bandit. That's right, the Healer family dad was named after a dog from a completely different animated show. But Johnny Quest isn't the only hidden reference. In the episode Double Babysitter, Radley's parked pickup has a strange sticker on the back. At first, it looks like a random design, but anyone who's seen Courage the Cowardly Dog might recognize it. The shape is almost identical to Cat's, one of Courage's creepier villains. Someone on the Bluey team clearly has a soft spot for classic cartoons. And there's one more odd detail in that scene. Sitting on the roof of the healer house is an American football. Bluey and Bingo don't play the sport, so it must have come from somewhere else. The funny part, it wasn't always there, meaning at some point it must have landed up there, maybe even in an unseen moment waiting to be told, just like the kite. The episode, Dirt starts with a shot of the healer house, but there's a tiny detail most people might miss. If you look closely at the tree beside the house, you'll spot a bird-shaped kite tangled in the branches. This isn't just any kite. It's the same one Bingo won in Pass the Parcel. Instead of being forgotten, the show sneakily brings it back, showing what might have happened to it after the game. Now, did you notice the helmet and eyebrows connection? In the early episodes of Bluey, something was missing whenever a character put on a helmet: their eyebrows. At first, it made sense. The helmet sat snugly on their heads, covering everything underneath. But starting in Season 2, the eyebrows magically started appearing on top of the helmets. It might seem like a mistake, but it was actually a smart design choice. Eyebrows play a big role in showing emotions, and without them, some expressions are harder to read. So now, no matter how snug the helmet is, those eyebrows are always there, because even in Bluey, good expressions come first. Anyways, did you notice? Wendy's never impressed with Chili. In the episode Dance Mode, the Healer family goes all out with their wild moves, but there's something hilarious happening in the background. As Chili dances past Wendy's car, Pat, ever the supportive neighbor, compliments Bluey's dance skills. But the moment Pat speaks, Wendy's face shifts instantly, like she just heard the worst take of the year. Whether she disagrees or just isn't a fan of all the chaos, one thing's clear: Wendy doesn't hide her feelings. Moving on, let's talk about pets in Bluey. We've seen plenty of animals in Bluey, but what about pets? In Vet Hospital, there's a dog holding an iguana, and a goldfish sits on a shelf nearby. But that raises an interesting question. What other pets exist in this world? Obviously, dogs having pet dogs would be a little strange. But what about cats? There have been hints. A cave drawing in Bandit's office seems to show a dog hunting a cat. Then there's Cat Squad, and a few cat plushies scattered throughout the series. But the biggest clue comes from the episode Shops, where the kids pretend to be pet kittens. If they're playing that game, it likely means they've seen someone with a pet cat before. Still, we've yet to see a real cat walking around. Maybe one will show up one day, if Bluey's world is ready for it. Did you notice Rusty's hidden detail? Most Bluey fans know that Rusty was almost the main character before the creators decided on Bluey. That's why their designs are so similar. But there's another detail about Rusty that's even more interesting. Rusty is an Australian red kelpie, a breed known for having a marking on its chest. And if you look closely, every member of Rusty's family has a unique one. Rusty's chest marking is a diamond, his little sister's is a small circle, and his older brother's looks like a downward arrow. Their mom has a lightning bolt shape, and their dad, a simple triangle. It's a small touch, but it makes each character feel even more unique. And considering Rusty was almost the star of the show, it's cool that he still gets his own standout details. There's another thing you missed: the cereal box connection. In the episode Mini Bluey, when Bandit and Chili hide in the food cupboard, there's a cereal box sitting in the background. Nothing unusual, right? But if you go back to the episode Feather Wand, you'll see the exact same cereal box in the Healer household. It's a small background detail, but it proves that Bluey keeps its world consistent, even down to the groceries. It's fun to catch little connections like this. Who knows what other tiny details are hiding in plain sight? Did you know the Who were the first friends of Bluey? Rusty and Mackenzie might just be Bluey's oldest friends. Not in the story, but in real life. Back in the 2016 pilot episode, long before Bluey became what it is today, these two were already there. While Bluey played on a swing with Bandit, Rusty and Mackenzie were dancing in the background. And here's the wild part: both of them appeared before Chili, and Bingo were even part of the show. That's right, these two pups have been around since the very beginning. It's crazy to think they almost had a head start over Bluey's own family. Speaking of family, let's talk about the Healer family's jobs. By now, most Bluey fans know the Healer family's jobs. Bandit's an archaeologist, and Chili works in airport security. But here's a clever twist: these jobs actually reflect real-life dog traits. Bandit, being an archaeologist, is a nod to how dogs love digging and sniffing out things like bones. And Chili's job at airport security? Well, it's a direct reference to how dogs are often trained to detect suspicious items at airports. A pretty genius way to tie the character's work to real-world dog behaviors. Looks like the Healers are working jobs that totally suit their species. Now, did you notice Bingo's car seat upgrade? This is a neat little change you might not have noticed. In the earlier episodes of Bluey, Bingo's car seat was just a lap sash, which had some fans wondering if she was really big enough for it. Well, the creators listened to the feedback, and by Season 2, Bingo's car seat got a much-needed upgrade to a 4-point harness. And there you have it. These clever details might not always be front and center, but they definitely add to the charm of the show. After all, it's the small things that make the world of Bluey so lovable. Did you catch any other cool details? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fun content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.